A couple of miles up the road, this Route 28 becomes the Catskill Mountain Scenic Byway, and I was on the committee to create the Scenic Byway, and we were looking for events relevant. And I remembered in 1903, the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers staged an endurance run that came up what was then called the Ulster and Delaware Turnpike. And this road goes back to the 1700s. And at that point, in 1903, it was the birth of really automobiling, where the machines were capable of practical use. And it was also the birth of road building, which was something that I came across doing my research. And when they came up here in 1903, there was 20 miles of crushed bluestone macadam paving that had been put down with state contracts just a couple of years before. They spent the first night in Pine Hill, and the next day they were going into Delaware County, and a deluge came upon these cars with no windshields, no tops on the dirt roads, because Delaware County didn't believe in state engineers and taxes. So it was heroic motoring of an unbelievable difficulty, but they persevered, they persisted. And the story was covered all over the United States, but it's been totally forgotten. So I have been working to create the historic awareness in the communities along this route, which went through 14 counties in New York State alone. In 1903, they were covering 800 miles. So I've recreated, well, a commemoration. It's not a reenactment and it's not a race, it's a commemoration of the pioneers. And we're going through 90 miles across Ulster and Delaware County until we cross the Susquehanna River at Unadilla, where in 1903, 10 inches of rain had fallen by that point. Flooding was universal, but I felt it was important to go from the Hudson across both branches of the Delaware River and meet the Susquehanna. And these villages really can draw on this historic heritage. I want to create an annual event, and I want to create an automobile heritage trail across the 14 counties of New York.
My name's Carl Darby. I'm from Stockton, New Jersey. I'm here with a 1913 Maxwell 40. It was made in Tarrytown, New York, and the Maxwell company went out of business in about the late 20s, probably 25 or so. And but they made cars right from 1901, 1902. So they've been around for a long time.
And how long have you had this car?
I've had this car for about 6 years. I took it apart. I took it to Colorado on a car tour and took the whole family. We enjoyed it. I brought it home and tore it apart and repainted it, rebuilt the engine, did things like that, and then I got it back together this past spring and took it to Oklahoma for a car tour, and now we're here.
What's the history of this car?
This car was in the 1912 Glidden Tour. Now, 1912 had a Glidden Tour, but it really didn't exist because Maxwell won the 1911 Glidden Tour, and when 1912 came along, nobody would race against the Maxwells because they were so dependable. So Glidden himself rode in this car from Detroit down to New Orleans, and it was the 1912 Glidden Tour, which back then you didn't have any roads to ride on, and I have pictures in the car of the car from back at that date. This car has a lot of history behind it. It's very original. There's no real bodywork problems with it. We just took the paint off and squirted it, came back, and here it is.
Wonderful.
A lot of fun.
Why do you think it was so well preserved for 100 years?
Because it has a crank start. There's no electric starter on it. And the cars from 1912, Cadillac came out with the electric starter. So right after that, everybody had an electric starter. And this car, even brand new, this car was outdated. Had acetylene headlights, kerosene side lights, a hand crank. It was very outdated at the time, and nobody really wanted it.
And when they wouldn't upgrade.
They wouldn't upgrade. So This car really was an auto show car, we think, because of the nickel plating on it. It's all nickel, and most cars of that period were either brass or they painted it black. So this car really has an interesting heritage.
Terrific. Big question is, why do you do it?
Why do I do it? Because it's fun to go places where you wouldn't normally go. I was president of the Horseless Carriage Club. These are all cars made before 1916, and we go on car tours all over the country. And part of the fun is to go places that I wouldn't normally come to Woodstock. I wouldn't normally go to Pine Hill. This is the fun part, is to go on these tours and to actually go places where you wouldn't normally travel. So we're here to have a good time. That's the whole point. Don't we look like we're having a good time?
Hey, let me see you on the road.